Welcome to MySQL webinar. Today we are going to cover the number 5 topic, stored procedures and functions or stored routines. So let's start with the presentation. So these are the set of topics that we are going to cover. So we'll start with what store routine is. So store routine is basically capture of a block of SQL statement in reusable and callable logic. So if you have done any kind of programming, you probably know a concept of, let's say, subroutine or method, and that's pretty much what we are talking about here. A store routine is associated with a particular database. And there are two different kinds of stored routines, stored procedures and stored functions. So we're going to look into each of these two, types of stored routine in detail in the rest of the presentation. So what's the difference between stored procedure against a stored function? Similarity is that both contain a block of SQL statement. And stored function is like aggregate, some kind of function, SQL function, aggregates SQL function. So stored function must return a return value, while stored procedure doesn't have to. And stored function cannot use SQL statement that return result set. And stored function cannot use SQL statement that perform transactional commit and callbacks. And the stored functions are called with a select, while stored procedures are called with call statement. So you can see later, you are going to see later on, stored functions are mostly actually deal with, for example, like the simple numerical functions and things like that, or string functions, string manipulation functions. Okay, so advantages of using stored procedure or stored function is, of course, precompiled execution. And because it's actually residing on the server, so it's precompiled, so it's going to actually result in a faster performance. And it's reduced the client-server traffic because the logic is captured in a single stored routine, so you don't have to send the multiple the SQL statement to perform what can be captured in a stored routine. And efficient reuse of code and programming abstraction. So once you created a stored routine, then you can reuse that stored routine. And enhanced security control might be possible because you can actually include some security control logic inside the store routine, and that security logic is hidden to the users of these stored routines. So these are the advantages of stored routines. So let's talk about stored procedure first. So the body of a stored procedure can contain SQL statement, and it could contain variable definitions, conditional statement, and loops and handlers. So we're going to see all these examples in the rest of the presentation. The way that you're going to define a procedure is start with the begin and end with end markers. So inside this begin and end markers, you're going to have a multiple SQL statement or variable definitions and things like that. By the way, you need to have a begin and end markers if you have more than a single statement. But for readability purpose, even if you have a single statement, it's better to have a begin and end. So this is an example of stored procedure called create school table. By the way, because you have a statement inside this block, and this block contains a delimiter, normal delimiter of semicolon, you have to define a delimiter other than semicolon. So basically what you're saying is that instead of semicolon, I'm actually delimiting with dollar sign. Okay, so that basically you can use this. If you don't do this, then when you have this semicolon here, right here, it will be regarded as the end of the statement. Okay, so that's going to be a syntax error in that case, right? So what you have to do is you have to change your delimiter to something other than semicolon. As a convention, people use dollar sign. Okay, and then you're going to create a procedure called the create school table, and it contains begin and end marker. And then inside of this begin and marker, you have SQL statement. In this case, is creating a table called the school table. And then this is the delimiter. So once you have this delimiter, it's considered that this is a single statement. Okay, and then you're going to change your delimiter back to the semicolon. All right, so let's do our first exercise. So here we are going to play around with a very simple set of stored procedures. Again, we are going to use MyDB database. All right, so first we are going to create a sample database. So this sample database is captured as person data.sql file. So we are going to run that person data SQL file so that we have a test table. Okay, so now we can see the person table has 5 records. Okay, so 5 people. All right, now let's create a simple procedure. So we are going to start with the delimiter, $$sign. Okay, so from this point on, the delimiter is $$sign. Okay, so I'm gonna create the count people a stored procedure, and we're gonna say begin, and then we're gonna say select count person ID from person. Now we are going to use the semicolon here because this is actually a delimiter inside this block. Okay. All right. Now we are going to say end, and then we say $$sign. Okay. So oops. Looks like oh, it's already exist. Okay. So you know what? I'm gonna actually start from the drop database MyDB. Okay. And then create database MyDB. Okay. All right. So we are going to start it again. Yeah. So I'm going to create person database one more time. Okay. And then we are going to delimiter. Okay. So, oops. Yeah. Delimiter is actually I have to change the delimiter. I have to. Okay. So let's see. I'm gonna actually say delimiter semicolon. So starting from scratch. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to create a person database table. Okay. And then we're gonna actually create the count people stored procedure. So I'm gonna just copy these things. So create procedure and begin, and then this block has just one single SQL statement, just selecting number of people in the person table. Then we say end $$sign. Okay, so we now created the count people procedure. Now we can actually change the delimiter to semicolon again. Okay, now we can call that the count people procedure. So we can call count people, and it returns 5 people. By the way, you can have the parentheses like this. Okay, so it will result the same. Now, if you want to actually see the contents of a particular the stored procedures, you can use the show command. So here, what you're saying is that I want to see the stored procedure, the contents of a stored procedure called count people. Okay, so I'm going to just copy this command, and then you can see it contains the stored procedure block. Okay. All right, the next one is we are going to create another simple stored procedure. In this case, we are going to create a two. So this is the SQL file. So here we change the delimiter to $$sign, and then we created a two stored procedure. One is called the create school table. The other one is called the drop school table. So here we are going to actually call this one, and it will create the school table, and then this is going to drop it. Okay. All right, so we are going to run that SQL file. So SQL file, when I execute this one, now we should have a two the stored procedures that we have in this file. So if you want to actually see any stored procedures that contains a name of school as its name, then we can use this command. Okay, so basically what you're saying is that show all the procedures, stored procedures that contains school as part of its name. So you can see we have these two stored procedures. Okay. If you want to see all the procedures, then you can say just show procedure status. So here we are going to, show procedure and status. Okay, so we should have a 3, okay, because in exercise 1 we have created a count people procedure. Okay, so this is the one that we just have created. All right, so let's actually execute. So first of all, let's see the tables. So we have, we just have a person table in MyDB. Now we are going to call that store procedure, which creates the school table. So we are going to just copy this one and call it. Now, if I want to see the tables, then you can see we have a school table. Okay. Now we are going to actually call the drop school table store procedure. So call drop school table, and then if you actually see the list of tables, and we can see the school table is dropped. Okay, so pretty straightforward. All right, so let's move on to the next exercise. So next topic is input and output parameters of stored procedures. So stored procedures we have worked with in exercise 1 doesn't actually receive any input and output parameters, but you could. Okay, so there are 3 different kinds of input and output parameters. One is in parameters, and the other one is out, and you also have in and out parameters. So in parameters serve as input to the procedure. Out parameters serve as output from the procedure. In out parameters is actually used both as input and output parameter. Okay, input parameter and also actually result or output. Okay, so let's see an example of in parameter. So here we define 2 stored procedures, get person and get person 2. And this get person procedure receive a single in parameter. Okay, so it's receiving the p underscore id, which is small int type. And then you can use this p underscore id in your logic. So here in this case, basically what you're saying is that I like to get all the person records whose person ID is the value that was entered here. So it's going to return just 1, right? Okay. This is the case that we receive, the procedure receive 2 input parameters. So here, person ID as well as age. So here, basically what you are saying is that I like to get all the persons whose person ID is greater than past PID and age is greater than 10. Okay, so that is in case. Out case is in this case, you are going to use this particular parameter as output. Okay, so basically this value will be set inside your logic. So in this case, what we want to do is we want to find the first name of a person whose person ID is the past person ID, and then the first name will be assigned into this output parameter f name. Okay, so once this procedure is executed, the f name should be set as first name of the person that was found. Okay, so in this case, we are going to call this the get person name procedure. So this is in parameter and this is output parameter. And output parameter typically is a variable. Okay, so you are passing a local variable, my name, and then my name will be set as the first name of the person whose ID is this. Okay, and then you can display the value. So that is out parameter. In out parameter, in this case, that parameter functions. It will actually play the role of both in and out. So in this case, you are using the number as in. So this is in parameter, and then it's going to set as out parameter. Okay. So in this case, basically what we want to do is we want to compute square value of certain number. So here, let's say we have a variable set with a 7. Then we are calling this stored procedure compute square, and then we are passing the value as an input parameter, which is 7. And then inside of this stored procedure, this is going to be also used as out. So this value, the number, this var will be set with the result of this square function, which is going to be 49. So when you display this var, it will display 49. All right, so let's do exercise 2. Okay, so this is the case. So this is the same example that we have seen. Okay, so we are going to run this SQL file. So we define the two stored procedures, both of which include the receive the in parameters. Okay, so we can certainly find out is defined here. Now we are going to call the get person 2. So what that means is that I want to get a person whose person ID is 2. Okay, so if I run this code, it returns person ID 2, the person, first name, last name, and age. And this one is this get person 2. So basically what I want to do is get all people whose person ID is greater than 2 and age is over 30. So we should have 2 people. Okay. Okay, so here person ID and 3 and 4 and age of these 2 people are 56 and 34, which is greater than 30. Okay. All right, so that's an example. That's an example of a stored procedure receiving in parameter. The next one is out parameter. So again, this is the same example that we have seen in the slide. Okay, so this is the SQL file. So we define get person name, the procedure which receive the result in f name parameter. Okay, because we are basically setting the first name into this f name parameter. Okay, so let's run that script. Okay, now we are going to run this code. So here, basically what I'm saying is that I like to get the first name of a person whose person ID is 3. Okay, so at this point, my name should be set with the Jack. Okay, Jack's person ID is 3, right? So if I say select and see the value of my name, then you see Jack. Okay, all right, so that is out parameter. The last one is in out parameter. Again, it's the same example that we have seen, okay, in the slides. So we are going to run that SQL file. Okay, and now let's set the value to 7. So we're going to actually set the value maybe 8, just to be different from the example. And then we're going to call compute square. Okay, so now the pass value var is functioning both as in and out parameter. Now if I display var, then it should display 64 as expected. Okay, so let's move on. Exercise, the next one is stored function. So far what we have looked into was stored procedures. So now let's look into stored functions. So stored function has to return some value as we talked about, okay? But the way that we are going to define it is going to be somewhat similar, except that you have to provide the returns and the type of it, and also it should actually return some value, okay? So here we define a compute square function, okay? And it could, by the way, stored function can receive only an in parameter, okay? Because it's returning inside this logic, okay? There is no out parameter. It's always in, okay? So this is basically computing the square value of the entered passed value and return it. And this is float. So this is the case that we are computing the area of a circle. So it's receiving radius, and then we are just computing the area, and the type is going to return is float. Okay, and then this is the way that you are going to call that stored function. Again, another difference between stored procedure versus stored function is that stored function has to be called with a select. That's the reason stored function is like a regular built-in SQL function. Okay, so regular built-in SQL function, you use select, right? So same deal here. So here, when I call the compute square function passing 3, it will return 9. And here, when I return radius 3, and it will return the area of the circle. All right, so exercise 3. So that's pretty much what I have in the file. Okay, so it's the same thing. So let's actually run that SQL file. Okay, so we now have the compute square